Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I want to do a little bit of a discussion video, and it's something I've been thinking about filming for a little bit because I have quite a few people who make comments on some of my videos about how I'm able to read so much or how I'm able to just fit it all in with my busy schedule because I am a stay-at-home mom. So I don't work outside the home. However, I am going to grad school online right now, and I do have two girls who are in activities. So, we do have things that we have to do after school, and I have a husband. So, we have families to take care of and do all this stuff. I also volunteer quite a bit. So I do have a busy schedule, but I also make sure I make time for reading. So I wanted to talk about how I'm kind of really able to maximize my reading time and how I'm able to read multiple books at one time, because that is something I get a lot of questions about too. So definitely one of my biggest tips is to make sure that if you want to get more reading done, you have to make time for it. You have to make it a priority. And it seems so obvious, but it's really the best advice. You have to think about when you're sitting down to do something, could I be doing this or could I be reading? Could I be scrolling through Facebook mindlessly for 30 minutes, or could I have read 2 chapters in a book that I'm interested in reading? So it's really making reading a priority and trying to make sure that when you kind of catch yourself doing something mindless or not necessary, stop that and go pick up your book. And I've done that quite a few times, especially with Facebook. That thing is a black hole of a time suck. I don't need to spend 30 minutes scrolling through videos I don't want to watch when I could be reading 2 really good chapters in a book that I want to read, So I've really caught myself making reading more of a priority and setting aside time to sit down. Just the other day, I had 30 minutes before I had to go pick up my girls from school, and I didn't have anything to do. And I was like, I'm just going to sit down and read. And I did. And I sat down and I read 3 chapters of the book that I was reading, and I really enjoyed them. So instead of, just like walking around or not doing much or just, going, I'm bored, pick up a book. Another tip that you've probably heard a bunch, but it is also a great one, is to make sure you always have a book with you when you go somewhere. If you are going to the doctor's office, throw a book in your bag. If you are going to be running errands all morning, throw a book in your bag, because you never know. Even if you don't pick it up, at least you have it there just in case, because you never know when you're going to be either stuck in traffic or you're going to be waiting in line for something and you're sitting there for 15 minutes. You could have read a chapter. One good tip also is I personally have a Kindle, and that's usually what I throw in my bag because I always have a Kindle book that I'm currently reading, and I'll talk about that in a second. But that is kind of my saving grace. I also have a Kindle app on my phone, which syncs up to my actual Kindle, and it does it automatically. I don't have to worry about it. And I just have to make sure that my app is connected to my Kindle. There's, like you can sign in and all that stuff. But I have done this a few times where I've been out or I didn't have something with me for whatever reason, or I didn't think I was going to need it, so I didn't grab it. And I pulled out my phone, pulled out my Kindle app, and I was able to read the book that I had going on my Kindle. And I just sat there and I, read 5 or 10 pages just sitting there. And so I always, always, always have access to a book no matter where I am. Okay, so now let's talk about how I read multiple books at one time, because I do. I kind of have a little bit of a system, and I've developed it over probably actually this past year is really when I've been maximizing my reading, and I have kind of found a good flow. Now, I am one of those people where I can read multiple books at one time and I don't get them confused. It doesn't bother me. I'm able to do that. I'm able to jump in whichever book I decide to pick up. I'm able to jump right back into the story. Not everybody can do that. And I know quite a few people who look at me and go, I can't do that. There's no way. I have to have one book at one time, and that's all I'm concentrating on. Otherwise, I will get lost, or I'll pick up something and I think I'm reading something else, or a character pops up and I'm like, what is this character doing here? Oh, this is a different book. I understand that. Like, everyone's brains work differently. I am very, very lucky, I feel, in the fact that I can do this. I can jump into a book no matter where I was before, and I can just pick it up right where I left off. Sometimes I do have to pick something up and go, okay, this is the book I'm starting. Okay, here's what just happened. Here's what I read last. Okay. Sometimes I've had to go back and read the last couple paragraphs that I read just to make sure I remember where I'm at. I have had to do that sometimes. But for the most part, I'm really good about just being able to pick it up and continue, and I'm good. And it doesn't matter what I pick up. I have been known to pick up 4 different books in one day and make progress in all 4 of them. The downside to that is I spend a lot of time working on 4 or 5 different books, and then I feel like I'm not finishing anything, even though I'm making progress in 4 or 5 different books. But then I end up finishing a whole bunch at one time. For example, 2 days ago, I finished 2 books in one day because I was so close to the end of both of them, and I was able to finish them both. So it's a little bit of a give and take, and I do have periods of time where I feel like, oh, I'm not reading anything. Well, I am. I'm just reading a whole bunch of stuff at one time, and it's just going to take me longer to actually finish versus if I just pick one thing up and I read it until I finish. So I have to remind myself of that sometimes. One way that helps me read multiple books at a time is that I have books going on different platforms all the time. I always have a physical book that I'm currently picking up and reading physically. I always have a Kindle book that I am reading because I read Kindle books at night while my husband and I are in bed because he goes to sleep sooner than I do. I like to stay up reading. So it's nice to have the Kindle because it is backlit and I can turn off the light and it doesn't bother him while he's sleeping. So I always have a Kindle book going. That's also what I usually throw into my purse so I can have it anytime, no matter where I am. And then I also try to always have an audiobook going. And so I always have at least 3 books at one time. And it's usually physical, Kindle, audio. I almost always listen to audiobooks when I'm in the car by myself. I don't do it if my girls are with me because obviously they don't want to hear what I'm reading and some of it's inappropriate for them anyway. So if I'm alone in the car, I will have my audiobook going, and then I have my Kindle book, like I said, that I read at night, and then the physical book is what I pick up during the day, or sometimes at night too, after the girls go to bed. If I don't want to watch TV, I just want to read, I'll pick that up and read it. So I'm going to show you what is on my currently reading list on Goodreads right now. It will probably, I'm pre-filming this a few days ahead, but it'll probably still be the same. I don't know if I'm going to finish any of these books before this video is scheduled to go up. But the first one here is Land of Stories, and this is The Enchantress Returns. This is book number 2 in the Land of Stories series by Chris Colfer. This has been on there for a very long time because I am reading this with my daughter, Kaylin. She's 9, and we are reading this together. So it takes a lot longer for us to get through these because, number 1, we have to make the time to do it in our busy schedules, and number 2, we're reading it together, so it's not something I'm speed reading through. We're taking turns reading, a couple of pages here and there. I'll read a couple pages, she'll read a couple pages, and we just read it together. So it is going to take me quite a while to get through this. We have a goal to finish this before the end of the year, but it's definitely, a physical book that I'm picking up, but it's also very special because I'm reading it with my daughter. So this wasn't put on there with the intention to read it as soon as possible. We're just enjoying it. Another book that has been on my currently reading shelf for quite a while is Killing Floor by Lee Child. I still have not made any progress because I am waiting for the audiobook for this to pop up in Overdrive. I have a hold on it. I was long line for this one, so I'm just waiting my turn. And as soon as it pops up, I will continue reading this on audiobook. I am almost 100 pages in, but I found myself getting a little bored. It's not very action-packed right now, and I feel like the audiobook will help me push through those parts and help me, finish the book that way. And I'm going to plan on doing that. I'm just literally waiting for the audiobook to pop up for me, but this is still on my currently reading because I am in the middle of it. I haven't finished it, and I don't want to take it off until I do. Another one on there is a book that I'm actually buddy reading with my friend Jenny, and that is The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Ahdieh. This is book number 2 in the The Wrath and the Dawn duology. The first book is The Wrath and the Dawn. We're really, really enjoying this. We did take a little bit of a break just because of lives happening, things happen. So we took a few weeks off from buddy reading it, and then we were both in better places. So we came back and we're starting to read it again. And actually almost done. So we're probably about almost 3/4 of the way through. So we should be actually finishing this up here, maybe hopefully in the next week or 2. And I'm really enjoying it. But it has been on my Goodreads list for a while just because, we did take a little bit of a break from it. But we're getting back to it and really, really enjoying it. So I'm excited to finish this one soon. Okay, this next one I have in physical form, but I'm actually reading it on my Kindle. And that is Remember Yesterday by Pintip Dunn. And this is book number 2 in the Forget Tomorrow trilogy. It's a dystopian series that I'm reading, and I'm trying to read the trilogy before the end of the year because I would like to do a trilogy review on my channel, and it is something that the publisher sent to me for review. Now, they did send me a physical copy, but they also sent me a NetGalley copy. So because of that, I have it available on my Kindle. So I am reading this one on my Kindle at night. I'm not reading the physical book of it, but I am just a little bit into it, almost 100 pages in, and I'm enjoying it. It's something that is good that will help me unwind at the end of the night. And it's just, I do pick it up every day, but it's at nighttime, as I'm trying to unwind and get ready to fall asleep. But yeah, this is the one that I'm reading on my Kindle right now. The book that I am starting on audio, that I just started on audiobook, is So Much Pretty by Kara Hoffman. And this one I found on Overdrive through one of my libraries, and I figured it would be a good one to try to work my way through. This is one that I got at Book Outlet, I believe. It's on my Book Outlet shelf. And yeah, I bought it on a whim. I'd never heard of it before. I'm interested to see what it's all about. And like I said, I just started the audiobook, so it's something that I'm listening to in the car. And when I'm at the gym, I listen to audiobooks. I don't listen to music at the gym. I listen to audiobooks. It helps me get through my workout. And so yeah, this one is pretty short. It's less than 300 pages, so I think I'm going to be able to get through it pretty quickly within a week. And this is what I have on audio right now. So currently on my Goodreads shelf, I have 5 books that I'm currently reading, and that's why, because I have a couple that I'm picking up physically, I have one that's an audiobook, and I have one that's a Kindle book. So that is why I always have multiple currently reading books on my Goodreads, because I'm always currently reading multiple books. And I'm just able to pick them up anytime I want to. And I actually kind of like that freedom. Sometimes I'm in the mood to pick up a book physically and read it, or I'm just really interested in that particular story. Sometimes if I'm cleaning the house or doing laundry and I'm just kind of doing something that I don't need to use my brain for, I will listen to my audiobook as well. I have a little headset that I'll put in my ear and I can listen to it as I'm doing stuff around the house. And that's really nice too, to have that kind of freedom. I also listen to audiobooks while I'm cooking. Especially if I'm doing a lot of chopping and stuff, it's nice to have that there. So that is really how I have been able to read so much this year. I am really close to getting 100 books read, which is insane to me. I don't know that I've ever read this much in one year before. And I will tell you that audiobooks have been my saving grace. They have really helped me read so much more, and I've listened to some really great ones. And then I've listened to a couple that were just fine or like duds, but it's still fine. They have really helped me just get so much more read, and I have just really been enjoying them a lot. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me today. I want to know what your reading habits are. Let me know down below. Do you guys read multiple books like I do at one time, or are you someone who has to have one book at a time going and you just can't separate them the way that some people can? And, do you listen to audiobooks? Do you do Kindle books? Do you physical books? Let me know all those nitty-gritty details. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.